Some like it hot, some like it hot.
Hello and welcome to the Boxing Hangout. Here we are with me Phil Lindsay and Ingram Jones from the Caribbean. Good evening.
Good evening, how are you?
Outstanding. Had a long day. Had the Newcastle Sunderland derby on the football in the interim this afternoon, so been catching up with the boxing as well.
Newcastle must have won then.
We drew ones each against the Mackhams, but it was a moral victory where we had 10 men for more than an hour, so...
Okay.
But anyway, this is a boxing show, and we're here to do the review of the two bills, starting with the British bill for the 20th of October, headed by Kell Brook against Hector Saldivia. If we start with the main fight, then we can cover a few fights on the undercard. What was your thoughts in terms of before the fight and after the fight, Ingram?
Well, my thoughts before the fight, I thought Hector Saldivia was going to come in and give Kell Brook a real fight. He's going to show some ambition. He was going to try and get inside. He landed those bombs, and we would have seen what Kell Brook had been doing. We would have seen whether Kell Brook's fitness and his new regime had made a difference. So that was my thought, and I front for a Saldivia upset.
Albeit you were a little bit of it was a tentative Saldivia upset, I think.
To be fair, yeah, I did also believe that Kell Brook could do it from the outside, pot shotting, and well, we all know what happened.
Yeah, it was. I mean, you can't take anything away from Brook on the night. It's one of the reasons I fancied Brooks reasonably comfortably was I checked out Saldivia's record, and he'd had a lot of wins, but they'd all been in Argentina. A lot of them against the guys he'd fought didn't have the greatest record. So I think he'd only lost one fight going into it, but he hadn't really stepped up too many times in terms of the challenge. And I don't think we learned anything about Brook. Eddie Hearn afterwards was given it. Oh, can you see what the difference now with the regime? And it's like that made that. At the same point, it was a quality jab.
Yeah, it was a quality finish. But let me ask you this question. Question number one: was there any difference between that Kell Brook last night and the other Kell Brook fights?
None.
So, what did that tell us about his fitness? Nothing. The only way we would have found out is if he was drawn into a fight in the second half of the fight, then we would know what he would have been about. We didn't find that out, and like the Aldi Harrison fight, Brook got to him before he could do anything. So, I mean, people will slag Brook off and say, it was a bum, but before the fight, me myself thought that he stood a good chance. So, you can only beat the guy that's put in front of you, and unfortunately, when you knock a guy out, boxing fans very quick say, "Oh, you knocked that guy out, so now you can knock this guy out." And I don't like unnecessary hype. The boxing commentators and Sky do it a lot. Yes, that was a world-class performance. That was world-class. Yeah, you know, he's ready to rule the world. He's ready to dominate the world. You would have thought he'd have knocked out Lucas Matisse, or he'd knocked out he knocked out some beast. He just knocked out Saldivia. You know what I mean? And yeah, it's about levels, and he did what he did. Fair play, and I'm not knocking that. And well done to Kell Brook, because it could have gone awfully wrong. Because he did get clipped. To be fair, he did get clipped, and he took it, and he did well. But you know, it doesn't tell us anything about Kell Brook. It doesn't tell us anything about Kell Brook apart from what we already know. And what we know is he can't fight on the inside. We know is if probably somebody puts good pressure on him and starts to back him up and start throwing punches, we know that there's problems there. So we don't know.
But he's a very good in terms of picking his openings. When people try to open and come in, he has the wing to bang sort of style, but he does actually have a decent defence with it, rather than the standard hands down.
For the first 6 rounds, we don't know what he's like.
Well, that's the thing. It's questions unanswered. But I think at this stage, since there was no questions answered on those sort of things last night, it was a fairly comfortable win
Yes.
Good performance.
Yes. But what I don't like as well is this connection with Amir Khan. Now, let's be fair. Let's get this straight. Let's not get this twisted. Amir Khan is not the undisputed champion of the welterweight division. He's not even the undisputed champion of the light welterweight division. And he's lost a lot of respect from a lot of boxing fans.
He's not the champion of any belt.
He's not a champion of anything.
At this point in time.
Yeah, but Eddie Hearn would make you believe that Amir Khan is some undisputed champion, and we must fight Amir Khan. And Brook saying, yeah, I'll take Khan's chin off. He's talking like that because Khan's chin's been taken off already. Let me hear him say he's going to take off Devin Alexander's chin. You know what I mean? Or I'm going to go and knock out Lucas Matisse. Let him say he's going to stop Tim Bradley. Let's him talk about those guys.
Well, the thing is, for a while now, you know, you've got your theory in terms of certain fighters who don't get stepped up or they're getting protected for a reason.
Yeah.
Now, Kell Brook, apparently Frank Warren had some problems with him in terms of out of the ring problems.
Yes.
And not surprisingly, Frank Warren shot one down the broadside when he left and went to Eddie Hearn. But since he went across, he's had some decent fights. But again, it's for someone who's the special one. You would have expected him to have been, you know, we're trying to get, we're looking for an eliminator. They're in that position now, so it must be Devin Alexander next. So
yeah, it's got to be, because
if it's not, we need to find out why not.
Yeah, but he's talking now about Amir Khan. Amir Khan's not even in the weight division. Eddie Hearn is going to get a reputation very quickly of being the king of eliminators, IBF World Final Eliminators.
He's probably going to spend some time with the WBC then, because they have loads of eliminators, even when the champions fight in the following week. They've got, honestly, if you, I've for the viewers here, Ingram's seen it. I'm putting together a website, and one of the sections is world title and different title holders. And I was looking up the WBC, and there was so many interim fights they have, and now they've got. Yeah. I think they've got about 13 different divisions within each weight class. It's just ridiculous.
We know that Frank Warren loves the WBO, so Eddie Hearn's probably going to try and get with the IBF. Who knows?
Well, it's all handshakes and things like that, isn't it? But like we say, Kell Brook, well done. I think the best fight on that bill really was the Jay McDonald against Darwin Zamora. In terms of watchable fight.
Yeah, it was good, but it was good but cringeworthy, because he couldn't stop a guy that had been stopped 5 times before in the low weight division. 1, 2, that guy was ranked 15. How can that be for a final eliminator? 3, for a world title. 3, that guy is nowhere near a top 10 ranked fighter, or even close to being a world champion. 4, Jay McDonald's got no power. He really has not got power. And when you start mixing at the very elite levels, if you haven't got power, you've got to get some serious defense, and you've got to be able to move real well. And I don't think you can do it at British, Commonwealth and European level. But even that guy, Zamora, was catching shots. You know, I don't know. Maybe he was ring rusty, and maybe I'm being too harsh. But you've seen it before so many times. Guys fight at British, Commonwealth, European level, they look good, and then you stick them in world class, and they get completely destroyed. Because
I'll cover points 1 and 4 together.
Okay.
Point 1 being he couldn't knock out a man who'd been knocked out obviously 4 or 5 times, and also he's no power. McDonald is very much an arm puncher. Very much an arm puncher. It's not that he doesn't have the power. He's very much just with the arms. He's accurate with it. He's solid with it. But like you say, there's a good chance he'd get found out at the top level. But I think that sort of thing, the gauntlet would be thrown down to him, and he would have to commit more with shots. in order to put more power in to discourage the fighters. But at bantamweight, you know what it's like. You can fight, 6-8 fights and you're in a British title. The lower weights, there's less guys down there.
Absolutely.
And sometimes you can lose a couple of fights at that weight and still come through quite well.
Yeah.
But I still thought he boxed well. He gave a decent interview afterwards. He spoke well. I thought Zamora, he was game for a guy that had been stopped a few times. He was. Bear in mind, this was his big chance. It was a world title eliminator by him as well as McDonnell.
Reckless. He looked reckless at times.
But like I say, I think McDonnell was predictable. But McDonnell did what he had to do. He didn't take any silly chances early, and he broke them down as we briefly discussed yesterday. Kenny Anderson against Robin Reed.
Ah, my man Kenny Anderson and Robin Reed. What can I tell you? First of all, it's so sad to see Robin get beat up like that. It really is sad because I'm a big fan. As for Kenny Anderson, I want to make a few things clear here. A lot of people are giving Kenny Anderson a lot of stick. Kenny Anderson looked crap, he was slow, he was this, he was that. First of all, Kenny Anderson had 2 fights pulled out of him by our friend, George Groves, who doesn't want to give back the British title. That's the first thing. The second thing is, he did box against Robin Reed, who's well known for counter-punching. Now, if Kenny Anderson had rushed out there, like Kenny Anderson does, like he did against George Groves, against a known counter-puncher, and a big punching counter-puncher, and he walked in there and got stopped, people would have said Kenny Anderson...
Reckless.
Was crap. It's reckless boxing from Anderson. It's not just coming in throwing reckless punches. I mean, it's reckless. So, we don't want... So, for me, Anderson boxed the way he needed to for that particular fight, right? Now they're talking about, Paul Smith will do him. Paul Smith won't do him. Paul Smith will not do him. I like Paul Smith, but he won't do him. Paul Smith was great, is better at middleweight. As a super middleweight, I think he's always struggled against guys that are bigger and stronger than him. You saw that against George Groves. You saw how DeGale completely boxed his head off. And I actually think that Anderson, who's boxed at a higher weight division, and is a big, strong super middleweight, is going to walk straight through Paul Smith. Sorry. I don't think Paul Smith puts enough power to hurt Anderson. So, no, not at all. But it'd be a good fight.
Well, I think you're seeing Robin Reed sent a tweet out saying that he would beat Paul Smith when he was 60. So whether Robin Reed's trying to make one more fight for himself, I don't know.
I just said as soon as I kept tweeting, as soon as Anderson lands hard on Reed, the fight is over. And as soon as he did, the fight was over.
Well, I think Reed's legs had gone through tiredness after 4 rounds.
Yeah.
His legs were gone through tiredness, and once his legs were gone, and it wasn't through taking shots at that stage really. He was just worn down, and he was doing the right thing. He was, because Anderson was keeping his defence up, so Reed was going to the body, landing the odd count out, the odd flurry. But like you say, Anderson didn't take any silly chances. Muhammad Ali would call him the mummy coming forward and all that, but
he really is the super middleweight version of Scott Harrison. I'm sorry, but he is. I love Scott Harrison. And the other thing was funny, it scared me. It was more scarier watching Kenny Anderson smile than it was him grimace. Because you always
I quite enjoyed his interview afterwards.
I did. It was refreshing, but it was scary watching him smile, because it's like, this guy never cracks a smile, and he's smiling and he's talking, and seems to be a nice character. Seems a really nice bloke.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna get in touch with him, see if he wants to come for a bit of an interview on the Hangout. Yeah, because I think I can make him smile, surely.
Yeah, I like him.
Every man has a talent.
I like him. I got a lot of time for Kenny Anderson. I think he might be one of those guys who don't look very good. He doesn't look really great at anything. He isn't very good at anything, but just is. He gets the job done. Kenny Anderson's a heavy-handed kind of type of guy who's got a good chin, takes a good shot, is methodical, and walks you down to ropes and unloads.
You have to remember, he's far from the finished article as well.
Absolutely.
There'll be people giving him stick, like you say. I mean, I've avoided Twitter today because I had to catch up with the final shows on the US bill, which we'll be covering a bit later there. But if you say there's been people giving him stick, I think you can only beat the man in front of you, and the British Boxing Board of Control sanctioned the fight for a British title, so.
Absolutely.
Like I say, I think the natural fight is Paul Smith next. Paul Smith has been looking to get back in. He's been calling a couple of fighters out. I've been enjoying him as a pundit, to be honest with you. I think he's done a good job.
Yeah.
He's been working for both sides, Sky and Box Nation.
If I were him, I'd stay on that side of the ropes now. I don't see George in that.
Does he want to go out with that second round defeat to Groves? It was a heavy stoppage, and I don't see Anderson doing that to him.
Oh yeah? I see Anderson doing worse to him.
Well, over more rounds, maybe.
Yeah, a bad beating. Real bad beating. I think Anderson's too strong, and I think he's one of those guys you look at on tape and think, I'd beat him, and then you get in the ring with him and you find out, shit, this guy punches hard, and he's got a really good chin, and he keeps coming forward. You know, I mean, Reed hit him with some bombs, and Reed hit him to the body as well, and he kept coming forward.
Yeah.
So
he did look like he was feeling it a little bit, but I think he does have an iron will. I like to say, obviously, he was short notice with the. Why didn't he get much notice with the Groves fight? Why wasn't he given more notice for that? What was the situation in terms of?
That's probably why they took the fight. To be fair.
Maybe, but that's just the cynical side of you coming out again. But one more fight that was shown on there, young Khalid Yafai. I thought he was exceptional last night and definitely deserves a mention.
Yeah, fantastic talent. But again, Sky do our talents no favours. For the boxing fan that has really very naive or getting into boxing, they will now listen to Johnny Nelson, who's a pundit, who said he's the British version of Roy Jones. People who don't know boxing will go on YouTube Roy Jones Jr. and look at this guy who's had a handful of fights, and say, what? This is the next. The guy box. If I was going to compare him to anybody in terms of the way he boxes and keeps his hands up, he's more like Andre Ward. But I'm not calling him Andre Ward. I'm not. Do you see the way he puts his punches together and he stands in the pocket? He can box on the inside, he can box on the outside. That's the way I see his style is more moulded than Roy Jones. It's very flashy.
What stood out for me most with Yafai was the way that he shifted his body weight when he punched. Every single shot, when he throws it, he's just got that natural flow. He's a natural pro, because every single shot he gets the weight right. We're talking about Jimmy McDonald before with his arm punching, and he's accurate with it.
Yeah.
Yafai at the same weight. But I mean, we've got my guy up here, Martin Ward, who recently won the English title. There's talk of him going in with McDonald over the next 3-4 months' time. But I would rather he fought McDonald than Yafai at this point, because he did look like. Again, I'm not going to do a Johnny Nelson or a Sky TV thing. It's I don't see him as Roy Jones, but I see a boxer with a lot of potential. And he spoke well afterwards. He had a charm.
Yeah, he can box on the inside, he can box on the outside, he can do lateral movement. Complete fighter, really. You've got to say that. Don't know what his chin's like. We don't know how he reacts being punched back. We don't know what he's like when he gets drawn into the trenches. But from what you saw there, he looks good. So
it'd be interesting to see if he goes to Channel 5. You heard it here first. Mainstream TV, bigger name, because I think he has the charm. He's not my type, I have to say, but just to clarify that point. But he came across, he spoke very well, very natural It wasn't like programmed speaking in the third person sort of boxing talk afterwards. He responded very well. Well, like I say, one to watch, definitely one to watch, because Scott Gladwin, who he fought, wasn't in the same league. He came to have a go, and it was good that Yafai sort of thanked him for that and acknowledged him for that. You know, where some fighters coming through, it's all about them. It's all about them. Where I think he showed a good side of himself. But this is the Khalid Yafai fan club reporting from Newcastle. Yeah. But no, like I say, he's one to watch, and he's also he had his first fight in July, and he's had a fight every month, and he's also fighting next month as well, and that's fantastic to see. That's
fantastic. He's active. You just wish Frankie Gavin could have been that way too, because Frankie Gavin's another one who has a lot of skill and a lot of talent.
Yeah, I think Frankie spent too much time worrying about putting up a show for what people expected him to say and do and all these different things, and hopefully he's got his head in the right place now and the right people around him in terms of advice. But again, time will tell. It's I've had my own rocky periods, so I can understand when certain people enjoy a party or whatever. But I think that's probably wrapped it up in terms of the UK part of the night.
Absolutely. Sky Sports, as always, and their hype jobs. I don't enjoy watching the Sky Talk League, because you listen to them and you think, this is not right, this can't be right. You know, Jim Watt can't go a show without calling somebody reckless, or calling them, arm punches, or what else does he use? Bang on the chin, or he can't go through a... They need to change the commentary.
Yeah, they're like verbal tics, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
Well, like I say, that's the idea of the boxing hangout as we grow with it. The idea is to have a lot more interaction with a lot more boxing fans, give people a voice, air some views, open some debates, and see if we can make a difference. That's it's an aim.
Absolutely.
But like I say, I think that's good for the UK side of things. We'll be back shortly with the American bill headed by Danny Garcia against Eric Morales.
By the way,
some like it hot, some like it hot.